What started out as a WhatsApp group of friends spawned into a forum for debating and rating the films they saw. Then, one of them had an idea. Instead of typing their opinions, why not record them on a podcast? No Trailer Productions proudly presents Those Movie Review Guys. This podcast may contain spoilers.
You talking to me?
I will find you and I will kill you.
To infinity and beyond.
I am your father.
James Bond.
Here's Johnny.
As far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a gangster.
First rule of Fight Club is you do not talk about Fight Club.
Hasta la vista, baby.
And here we go.
Hello and welcome to the show. We are Those Movie Review Guys, four guys from London who love to watch, discuss and review movies. On every show we will look at a selection of titles, give our thoughts and feelings towards each one, and then conclude each review with the coveted hashtag TMRG star rating. As always, I'm joined by the fabulous
Kyle.
Amari.
And Elliot. This feels so weird doing it this way.
Well, to be honest with you,
You're supposed to say...
What?
No, you were supposed to go Kyle, Amari, Elliot, and then you're supposed to say your name. And then Elliot looked so confused, he didn't know what to do. He was like, what is my name?
No, it's fine. No. I was gonna say it's fine. It worked fine because we didn't practice it. This is episode 16, and you know we haven't done it before, so actually it flowed quite well. And of course, I'm Giles, which was what you was alluding to.
You should change things up more often. I'm waiting for Amari to host. I might crack out some brandy for that. One.
So today's show follows a slightly different format to what we normally do. This is called a TMRG Revisits show. So just a quick explanation of that is we will pick a year from yesteryear and pick two films and then basically discuss them, and then at the end give them a TMRG star rating. The year in question is 1995. I don't know where we got that year from, but someone amongst us.
Yeah,
whose idea actually was that?
That was me. I just put it. I don't know. That was the first year that came to mind.
Yeah, that's the year he first got his heart broken.
Well, that sounds like a totally other show. It sounds like a totally other show. But yeah, so yeah, we've gone with 1995. It's actually quite a very good year for film.
It was hard. It was hard to pick the because obviously this week it was me and Amari that picked, and it was very difficult. Very difficult. I feel we'll be revisiting 95 again, to be honest.
I think so as well.
For you, not for me.
Well, yeah, for certain selections, I would say.
Yeah, I think we will be. There were so many films that we could have looked at in 1995. However, the two films we have come up with are Kids and Friday. But we'll get into those a little bit more shortly. For our listeners, don't forget to subscribe to us at all major streaming platforms, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, and YouTube. And also, please get in touch with us on our social media platforms, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, using the handle at TMRG Podcast. Right. We would talk about what we did in a week, but as we are revisiting 1995, I decided...
But before you go any further, Giles, there is one thing we do have to revisit quickly from what's happened in the last week, and that is someone within the circle had a birthday. We're not going to talk numbers, but we are going to clap. We celebrate life in these testing times, but hope you had a good one. Giles, you have a good day?
I did have a very good day. I did have a very good day. 42 and up. And not out. So yeah. Anyway, we can talk about that on the next show that we do when we talk about highlights from the week. But yeah, so one of the things that I thought would be good to do would be to revisit the year 1995 and just touch upon a couple of major events. that happened in the year, and just to see, what you guys remember and what your thoughts are around those before we start discussing the films. So, for 1995, a couple of things I came up with. The O.J. Simpson trial began. Who remembers when that started? I know you guys. In fact, actually, what ages were you?
Do you know what I love about Revisits? Because I can already see when we're talking about the 90s, Giles, you're gonna have to host because you can actually talk about. You can actually put your hand up and say, "I was there.
Yeah.
I was there."
I was an adult. Yeah, I was already an adult.
Really and truly, in 95, all I cared about were three things: my dad getting me some new trainers, my Jurassic Park Tiger all-in-one little Game Boy thingy, and
the handheld. The handheld.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think the other thing was probably.
I think I had the Double Dragon one of that.
Everyone had one of them. Whatever cartoon it was, we all had one. But yeah, so talking about the O.J. Simpson trial, I actually only recall it from watching the drama show that came on a few years back with Cuba Gooding Jr. That was my
American crime story. Yeah.
Yes, obviously I've watched documentaries on the real thing, but yeah, a lot of these years in the 90s you could talk about, and then obviously in the sort of more recent stuff, maybe when we start talking about stuff that was more impactful for us, like when internet came out or mobile phones, that kind of thing, we can take over. But yeah, I actually don't remember anything about it. I mean, it must have been a madness being of age and witnessing that unravel on TV. Yeah,
it was. It was a crazy time. I mean, the trial, from my memory, I think it ran quite a few months, pretty much for most of the year, and then obviously the verdict came out, and you had the glove and him putting the glove on to demonstrate that it didn't fit, and yeah, it was a shenanigan, a whole bunch of live courtroom shenanigans, man. Other stuff that I stumbled across that happened in 1995. So you had the Oklahoma City bombing. I don't know. Some of you might have. By obviously, Timothy McVeigh was arrested. And charged with that.
There's a fantastic documentary on Netflix.
I remember the name. I just don't remember what happened.
So, in a nutshell, in a very, very quick nutshell, he was a soldier, or Marine, or whatever you want to call it. He went and fought for, I think, maybe one tour, came back, and then became radicalized by far, would you say, left wingers, pro-white, neo-Nazi almost. Those kind of
right wing.
Because I believe he even read one of Hitler's books. Don't fact check me, but he basically got radicalized. And then I think the tipping point was another interesting incident, which was was it David Koresh? What was his name?
David Koresh.
Koresh, that's it.
So that was another incident. So we'll go into a little bit more detail about that another time when we revisit the year. Because I remember when that happened. That was the Waco siege.
That lasted, Waco.
That lasted a few.
That was the FBI or some. That was some mad.
Yeah, that was. Yeah, so yeah, but we won't even go into that. That was
all
some
I'm
mad
saying
stuff.
is, I don't know if it's still on there, but there is a fantastic documentary on Netflix. I believe it's called Oklahoma.
I think
If
Yeah,
not,
it
you
is still
obviously
there.
find your way to watch it. But it explains the whole. I think it's about 2.5 hours, but it's such a good documentary.
Very good documentary.
Very interesting. But again, I can only imagine, because obviously at the time, I think they said that was the biggest terrorist attack that had happened thus far, or something like that. And obviously by a non-international criminal.
Well, it was domestic terrorism, wasn't it? Which was something that wasn't really a thing. Anyway, other stuff that that happened during the year. So Superman, Christopher Reeve, he fell off the horse and was paralyzed.
Is that in 95?
That happened in 95.
I kind of thought it happened before that, because them bars were coming out real quick. I remember listening to hip hop and I was like, I don't want to be like Christopher Reeve. One day Superman, next day Wills. I was like, rah.
I believe Eminem was a very big antagonist of
he was on him. He was on him.
That's mad.
Other stuff. So if we look at the Oscars, Forrest Gump, that cleaned up 6 awards, including Best Picture and obviously Best Actor for Tom Hanks.
I rewatched that the other day. Actually, brilliant film.
Yeah, very good film. In the world of sport, Michael Jordan returned from a 17-month hiatus. Are you right there?
You believe the conspiracies, yeah?
Yeah,
Hey, listen,
70-month hiatus.
I apologize for interrupting. There's no way a individual with that talent is gonna be in your prime in a team that beats everyone and then says, "I want to play baseball."
Well, there was a lot of other stuff that was surrounding.
Well, this is it. Yeah.
Yeah, so you didn't believe what you saw in the documentary?
I didn't say I didn't believe it. I just said that I know there's parts left out. There's no way you're trying to tell me that was the reason why. That's it. That's not enough. It doesn't make any sense.
I'm not going to comment on that. I'm not going to comment on that.
It's okay.
The reality is, he returned in 1995, and with the rest, as they say, is history.
Mm-hmm.
I looked at, and funny enough, when I was stumbling across some bits and pieces, Pete Sampras was still playing tennis. Yeah, Andre Agassi, Boris Becker, Steffi Graf.
Do you know how mad this is? This is so. The world turns in a very funny way. Yesterday, randomly on YouTube, I've forgotten the name of his wife, but she's an actress and she played in Mortal Kombat. She played Sonya Blade.
Right.
And anyway, I watched this video. It was one of them Watch Mojos, whatever, and it was talking about why she basically didn't go further in Hollywood. And the character,
because she made that film, wasn't it? Is that the answer to that?
Well, but the thing is, it was a cult classic, and she actually got quite a few roles off of it. And funny enough, Meg Ryan was actually supposed to play Sonya Blade in that, but injured herself doing the kung fu training, and that's when this lady, I've forgotten her name, but that's when she stepped in. But then she obviously goes on to marry Pete Sampras. So it's just mad that you just bring up his name today.
Well, one of the all-time greats of the tennis, and then last couple of tech. What was that? I missed that.
Meg Ryan
and Sonya Blades.
I know that's a mad concept. I can't see it either.
Think about the character she played in Charlie's Angels. It's not that far away.
Nah, she's not in Charlie's Angels.
Anyway, whoa! I smell homework.
Sorry. Do you know what?
Wait, which Charlie's Angels are you talking about?
There we go.
I meant Cameron Diaz. Cameron Diaz.
Okay.
Let me just give myself another one.
That's homework.
That's
homework. Anyway, the last two things I came across.
White lady with blonde hair gets all of them.
Wow, stereotypical or what?
Listen, don't say stuff like that. I want to be able to make an episode 17. All right. eBay was founded in 1995.
Do you know what?
I'm gonna ask you guys a question. What do you think the first thing sold on eBay was?
That's a very good question.
A pen? Mobile phone.
Or pencil?
No.
Other than brick mobile phones.
Nope. Pager.
Pager as well.
I'm thinking about the wire.
What are you saying?
I think it's going to be something stupid. I think it's going to be something stupid. Because I picture the person who made the first sale probably was so excited that they just thought, I'm selling, and just sold something stupid. So I'm going to go with pen, pencil, household object.
So the first item sold was a broken laser pointer, and it sold for $14.83.
For fuck's sake.
Broken, man.
And
that's the key word.
Hold on.
Broken.
So the first sale was a scam. Imagine that.
Well, no. What you think that? Listen to this.
Broken.
So it was listed as broken, and so the guy who found it, Pierre Omidyar, I hope I've pronounced his name correctly. He sold it. So he founded the company in his bedroom, and then obviously this other guy who's bought this broken laser pointer. He's contacted him and said, "You do realize it's broken?" And the guy went, "Yeah, I'm a collector of broken laser pointers." Right. And obviously the last thing the most obvious thing, one of the most obvious things, was that obviously Windows 95 debuted, and I guess that was why it's called Windows 95. But anyway,
and the lesson about Windows, the better.
Yeah,
Yes.
95. Yeah, that wasn't a good year.
So those are just a few things from 1995. So the first of our films today from 1995 is Kids, released May 17th, 1995, directed by Larry Clark. It starred Leo Fitzpatrick as Telly, Justin Pierce as Caspar, Chloe Savini as Jenny, and Rosario Dawson as Ruby. A day in the life of a group of teens as they travel around New York City skating, drinking, smoking, and deflowering virgins. Kyle, were you entertained?
No.
Elliot, were you entertained?
Yes.
Amari, were you entertained?
Certain man said no, so they're gonna have to start. I say yes.
I wasn't entertained.
You lot are sick.
God damn! There was two them.
I
You
wasn't
lot are
entertained.
sick.
I wasn't
That's why I
entertained.
was entertained.
Wasn't entertained.
What have you
Now.
got me watching?
I'm
Now.
confused. I'm very
Now.
confused right now.
Right,
What have
now
you
I'm
got
go-
me
you
watching?
know what?
I'll let Giles start.
I am going to start.
I was
I'm
outraged
gonna-
by this film.
God damn!
Hold on. I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to tell you why. Now,
All right.
originally I watched this film in 1995. So in 1995, I would have been still a child. So when I first watched this film, I was entertained because I watched it through childlike eyes. Not that I was a skateboarder, not that I was drinking, and not that I was smoking. Maybe I was deflowering virgins at that stage. But all the other stuff, I definitely wasn't doing. But I could relate to it. At the time, I don't think I'd been to New York, and it was always a place. I mean, subsequently, I've been X amount of times, but at the time, I'd never been there. So it was always held this place always held this like mysterious kind of allure to me. So I didn't see anything wrong with what they were doing or what they got up to, and I didn't really. And there's Elliot. If whenever I can throw this word in, I didn't fully understand the gravitas of what they were actually doing. Thank you. But now, watching it in 2020, as a parent, no, I'm not entertained.
And it's for that exact reason
Why I was
why I
entertained.
was entertained. Look at how long ago this film was made, yeah? And for me, it was the eye-opening realization of just how things have not changed. Things have just got worse. Things have just got worse. And it was very entertaining for me personally to watch something that was made, we're going back, 25 years ago, and the aesthetic is different, but it's the same message. These kids today are running around doing a nonsense, if not more so. And to me, I just found it very entertaining seeing how life was 25 years ago when I was a child, and thinking that's how, because again, it's a fictional story, but again, you know how it is at that time during the AIDS epidemic as well.
Absolutely.
Kanye, keep preaching.
Now that's not now what I'm not saying, because the question is, was I entertained? This isn't a bad film. At no point am I saying it's a bad film.
Yeah.
The fact that the way how it's filmed, it's one of these beautifully shot films. They kind of let, a lot of it is ad-libbed and ad hoc done. It's just free flowing, but it's the subject matters and the way how the subject matters are filmed. It's uncomfortable, but that's me watching it, 25 years after I've watched it, I've got a 24-year-old daughter. Do you understand what I'm saying? So that's the only reason why I can't say. Not that I'm saying I didn't. Well, not that I'm saying I didn't enjoy the film. It's still not. It still is one of my favorite films.
Yeah.
But it's now become it's now become an uncomfortable watch.
Amari.
Uncomfortable is the key word, Joe.
Yeah, it's a very important word.
It is a very, very important.
You know what I thought? I was after watching this film. All those times I used to banter that I'm gonna have a daughter as my first child or my second. I don't want a daughter. That was the first thought. I'm not gonna lie to you. Only because this film was saying na na na, you don't know what's gonna happen, and you're like, "Bruh, I remember younger me. I wasn't like that."
Hey, you know what? Let me just drop a bomb that we made it this far, all four of us, because on a real one, but again, it's, you know, I can make jokes out of this film, but all the jokes are kind of rebutted with seriousness, because we can say, yeah, we made it. We all kind of, you know, we've all done our thing as young men and we've grown, but this is the realness of this film. It's one of them films for me, and this is why, again, I suggested it, and it is probably in my sort of, I wouldn't say favorite, but most important films maybe that I've seen in my life, because of how raw and visceral it is.
Mad.
It is a very, sometimes you need those kind of films that they pack a punch, and that you watch it and you think
absolutely,
through every scene, and you feel it. Do you see what I'm saying?
This film, you think that you think someone that's not between the ages of 15, 14, 13. We knew people when we was in school in year 8. That's like 12, living this same lifestyle to what, as they grow up, and they grow up too fast, etc. No, this film is fully relevant as it was 25 years ago.
Agreed.
And you're saying to me it's uncomfortable. It better be uncomfortable. It's supposed to be. It's supposed to piss you off, and it's supposed to make you feel like, what?
It's supposed to sick
not
you.
okay.
Kyle's reaction is exactly what I believe. Was the director Leo Fitzpatrick? What was his name, Josh?
No, Larry Clark.
Larry Clark. I believe when he made this film, he wanted every single person that watched it to have the same reaction Kyle's had.
This film was disgusting. This was actually disgusting.
Hang on a sec. Let's hear from Carl. Actually, go on, Carl.
Like, I'm not saying this wasn't real. This was a very true depiction. But me watching little kids, to me, having sex, no, I'm not on that. And that's until they got to the scene with Rosario Dawson, and she said that she was 16 and the other one was 17. I thought these kids were like 14, and I was like, this is a bit uncomfortable for me to watch little kids moving like this. The scene in the pool, I was thinking, this is a little girl. She's got her breast. Like, to me, this was no. This was sick. This was actually. I'll never watch this film again. I'll never watch this film again. I swear to you, I watched it and I was like, why would Eddie recommend this? I was so confused.
But this exact
question: do you put this film on disgusting level as you do as Midsummer?
This is worse than Midsummer.
Wow.
No. This is actually bad. Like, I can't believe this film was made. It's funny because even afterwards, and I thought, is it just me that's out? I went and Googled and I saw at the time it got released, people were talking about it's bordering on child pornography, which is exactly the vibe I was getting. So I was like, what am I doing watching this film? Why has Elliot made me watch this film? There was all kinds of weirdness going on. I was not feeling it. That even the beginning, why did he spit down the stairs?
Because he's a kid. Because he's a kid.
I'm just gonna come out of having sex with a girl. I look down the stairs. Oh yeah, I'm gonna spit down.
Okay,
this was disgusting to me.
Right, but Carl. So I'm like I said, I've watched this film through both eyes. I've watched it through and I can't state that enough. I watched it through childlike eyes.
Yeah,
not understanding it fully, and now watching it through an adult. And obviously, I've lived my life in those 25 years. The reason why he done, and you asked, why would he do that? Because that's what kids do. I work with
just
kids.
Because that's what kids do. Hold on a sec. That doesn't mean you need to show it in a film. No, there's a lot of sick people in this world, that watch all kinds of nonsense online, but I don't want to watch a film about that. But that's what I'm saying.
You're absolutely right. And my rebuttal to that is, you probably couldn't make this film now. You probably couldn't. You couldn't make. You could not.
And
also, go on.
Yeah, no, it's only just to add on to that, and this is the beauty of going back to look at certain things released at certain times, because you look at and it's beautiful the way you started the conversation by talking about things that were going on in the world, and then the Oklahoma bombing, and then all of a sudden we're now talking about a film of this caliber being released at that time. I fully agree with what Carl's saying. With what you're saying, there is no way this film would get released. A film like this would get released and made now. But me personally, I think more films should be made in this kind of manner, showing the absolute rawness and straight up reality of what certain decisions will go on.
I mean, look, it was
this films like this are made not in this kind of concept of the child element of it, in terms of you not knowing the ages too late in the film for you to feel less unease. You see that film on Netflix, that Desi 365 nonsense. If you see that film,
I ain't seen it.
Listen, oh, I'm gonna tell you, the woman gets kidnapped and then she gets done the Stockholm syndrome, and they show it in the whole film.
Yeah, but you don't
No,
need to
but it's the
don't
concept.
spoil the film.
No, but I'm talking about the film in the concept.
Yeah.
In the whole element of this climate we are now, that film shouldn't be made, because you're saying that women can be taken and used as objects and then be controlled, etc. Considering we had Me Too movement in 2017, 2018, considering we are now in terms of women's rights, that kind of film shouldn't be made. So trust me, this film should be made in a different version that is relevant in terms of the digital age. But these films should be made, and they could be made.
I agree. I agree with that, and I don't think you know.
But wait, can I ask why do you guys think this film should be made? For who? Who is this for?
Made for the kids.
For
And
kids.
for the parents.
For kids. What? So do you think kids don't know the possibility of catching STIs, STDs?
No, they don't. A lot of them don't. A lot of them don't.
That's crazy. When I was growing up, we all made mistakes, innit? But we all knew we all knew what was going on, what could happen if you have unprotected sex.
Kyle, let me just drop one bar, yeah. And I know I can't speak because I don't have a child who is yet at that age. And I think I look to Giles in this kind of part of the conversation. But I'm gonna make a statement, yeah. Now we all within 10 years of each other, yeah. So me, you, and Amari grew up at the same era. Giles grew up just before us. Look at the way that kids are now. Look at the way the world in general is now. Look at all the things that they have at arm's length. Mobile phones. It's a key. It's a window to the world. Yeah. The IQ and the logic and the sort of basic how to carry yourself has been dumbed down so much that you look at the state of the kids today, you look at the generation that are growing up, and I know you've probably said it and thought yourself, they're finished. They are finished. So lessons about
not about
reactions.
sex.
Oh, believe me, it's about everything. Believe me, it's about everything.
Carl, listen. Like I said, I'm a little bit further down the parental road, okay? And I'm going to tell you this now. Do not ever be surprised that what your child gets up to when your eyes cannot see what they're doing.
No,
ever.
Of course, I would never say that.
So that includes sex, that includes drugs, and it fucking includes rock and roll.
All right, but
Trust me,
that's what
bro.
I'm saying. What did you guys take as? What were your takeaways? What were your messages from this film? That you could catch HIV through unprotected sex. Drugs is very bad. That can really mess you up. And if you beat up someone, you could end up killing. We don't know whether the guy died. But those are the three things I took from this film. Now, if you guys are telling me at age 12, 13, or whenever you guys started having sex that you didn't know about diseases, yeah, then I don't know what to say. But that was promoted. I went to a boys' school, and that was promoted in a boys' school. I knew about all these things. There's nothing here that at 12, 13, I didn't know. So why do I need a film to show me that?
But that's you, and I completely understand that, and I get that. But I think maybe some of that, for example, these kind of films with these kind of messages, they're better for the masses. They're better for the masses. It's better to teach than to not to presume something's been taught. It's better to show the obvious than to leave it to the imagination. Because I guarantee you, if you went out now and had a survey of 100 kids between the age of 8 and 16, I guarantee you the most basic questions about sex and STIs and the rest of it, half of them won't have a clue, bruv. I guarantee you.
And just
guarantee.
Carl, I'm telling Carl, listen, I've been present every year in year 6. They get the health visitors to come in and they separate the boys and the girls and they do the sex talk. Yeah, sex ed talk.
Yeah, but wait, you just said year 6. You said year 6.
Yeah, and they're 11. They're 11. But
how
listen,
old were the kids in this film?
They were 14, 12. Well,
Right.
we don't
There
know.
was a range. There was a
There was a
range.
range of kids because you had the little.
But that's the key point.
But my point is, you'd be surprised how much 11-year-olds already have misconceptions. Yeah, misconceptions about sex, about puberty, about STDs, STIs. Do you understand what I'm saying? So, and they don't understand. And again, that's why I said when I watched it the first time, I didn't really see anything wrong with the film. I knew that that happened. The opening scene is him having sex. The closing scene is someone else having sex. At no point in my head did I think, hang on, the closing scene's a rape.
Yeah.
Do you understand what I'm saying? It was just I just saw it as a child watching, and I'm watching it as a 16-year-old child. So I'm almost coming out of my childhood. Do you understand what I'm saying? So when I remember watching that, thinking like, raw. Now I'm like, right, that was a rape, like, huh? And that was a long, like, I didn't need to see the actual rape. It was uncomfortably long, but it's uncomfortable for me because one, I'm a man now, and two, I have 3 daughters. Do you understand what I'm saying? And especially my youngest one, who is 11, who's still got to go through this minefield of growing up. Do you understand what I'm saying? So that's why I'm not into tech, but it doesn't make it a bad or a film that shouldn't be made. I think it still should be made.
Crazy.
And I would say I'd even go one step further and say, you could have the discussion and say there have been films like Kids, for example, Kidulthood, for example, Blue Story, for example, all those Plan B's one as well, which I was talking about the other day. For example, all these little UK, US films on a smaller scale, that even the one we discussed in our last episode, A Day and a Night, all these kind of films are basically showing you the same message of every action has a reaction. The only difference is the degree of severity and how visceral each one is.
Exactly. And again, if you look at the actual director, Larry Clark, now, Carl, you're not going to like this. You're not going to like this.
Let me load up something.
Okay, you're not going to like this because he made Kids in 1995. In 2002, he made another film called Ken Park, and it is more sexual and more violently graphic film than Kids. Now, I haven't seen that.
The ages for that one, is it adults or is it kids? Is it questionable? Are people disturbed and concerned by it? Did it get the same visceral?
Well, look, it wasn't released. It wasn't released in the United States, so I don't know too much about the. Yeah,
wow. There you go.
Like everything and anything. So
I beg someone put down the schedule, please. That's what I'm saying. I beg someone put down.
I'm not watching. My thing is this: when it comes to paedophilia, child porn, I'm not in it. I'm not involved. And this is what this film was screaming out to me. Because if they didn't mention the ages, I was thinking I'm watching 13, 14-year-olds having sex. And that's why I'm uncomfortable about the ages, what they look like. And me as a man watching this, that's what I was really uncomfortable with. I can't.
But I get that argument as well because I
get that.
Like the scene in the pool I was like, I can't watch this because she looks like a little girl to me.
Yeah,
bro.
I'm looking at a little girl.
Bro, hold on.
That's crazy.
Forget the pool. The opening scene. That sets off the tone for the rest of the film. That was the first thing I wrote. Very intense start, but I like sometimes to have the rug pulled up from under my feet. I like to have that sort of hard dose punch in the face. This is what it is. You're going to be shocked. You're going to come away from this feeling strongly about certain things. Do you see what I'm saying? So to tap it, go back towards the actual film and have a conversation about the film. In general, I think my thing which I loved about this was that kind of just raw feel, that kind of home video, following as if you're like the third person in every situation, just following these kids around. And I think I had this conversation, I can't remember who it was with. I think it was even a review of Giles, and I said it's funny how we're picking 2 films from 1995 that kind of the subject is people with shit to do, nothing to do. And it took me back up because this is what I'm saying. And I watched this with Amber, and we were sitting there saying, thinking back to our childhood and how it was some days where you would have fuck all to do and your day would consist of so many random things that you never planned out or thought you would be doing.
Exactly. And if you look at, going back to, and again, this is kind of the theme that runs through both films, you could start the day doing one thing and end it completely askew to what you started the day. But that's the life of a child. And again, and again, one of the obviously the film's called Kids, so it's quite poignant that there is a lack of adults in the film, and not only is there a lack of adults, there's a lack of authoritative adults.
Agreed.
Yeah, like even when you meet Casper's mum. She's and again this leads into the changing mindset of the world. She is breastfeeding while smoking. Like, what the hell? So again,
two words in bold for this film for me: disregard and disrespect.
Exactly. Now, so again, if you look at, so again, all we see is like a day in the life of these children, okay? Because they are children, irrespective of what ages they are. They're all children. But when you the minimal times that there's an adult in there, you kind of think, well, hang on, this adult isn't acting like an adult. So what chance do the children have?
This is what I'm saying. And if you want to flip because again, it's easy to take the sort of shock value from this film, Carl. But why I picked this was because I knew we would be having a conversation similar to this. But there's also a very good conversation to be had on the flip side of how to raise kids, how important it is to teach certain values, to do your best, to really put time and effort into youth. Because again, if we look at, we're not going to take this conversation down the road, but if you look at all the crimes and stuff that happen and all the kids dying in London alone under the age of 18, under the age of 16, under the age of 14, and you go and look at the cases and you look at actually what the reason behind the deaths were, it's all nonsense. It's all, and I would even go as far as saying, it's all down to fucking idiots with nothing better to do, which is exactly why I picked this film, because I thought that was the sort of pivotal message of when you give kids time and you don't rein them in, you don't give them boundaries, they have no authoritative figures like Giles say, they're gonna just be kids and they're gonna act up. And this is the sort of like the extreme end of what could happen. Obviously at that time it was that, but if you made this film in 2020, it would be the same subject matters. And that's why I liked it.
It's not the extreme though, because I feel like when you're 12, 13, you want to do things, you're interested, maybe you're not ready for it, but you just want to hang out with your boys. Hit 14, 15, CBC, we see women develop and are interested. Maybe you want to get it in or not, what are we doing? And then you hit to 15, 16, 17, right, but that's all we want to do. You see, and then you're saying this is the normal environment, this is how an individual develops. So as a conversation in terms of this is, and you're telling me if I go outside and if I say, yo, how old are you? Oh, you're 13, 14. Cool. I beg you tell me what you and your friends are going to do today. You're going to do nothing. You're just going to hang out and chill. You're going to hang out with chill with girls? All right, cool. What are you not going to try to do? Oh, I'm going to try and get a little something. See where it goes. Basic conversation. Basic what you do for your environment. And then you have a different environment to be in. Simples.
I'm not disagreeing with any of you in terms of the realism. This film is spot on in terms of realism. But I don't need to watch a film seeing that play out. That's my issue. There was no message here that I didn't know when I was 13. So what was the point?
It's not about what you know. Sometimes there's a film about what other people do.
Alright, look at it like this. Giles said he watched it at 16. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And he watched that end scene and didn't think it was a rape. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So if a 15-year-old now watches the film, there's nothing in the film that says this is bad. It's only now that you're older, Giles, that you see it. So if you're watching it as a youth, you didn't even take away that message. So what was the point of the film? Because it doesn't even say it's bad.
This is when you, as the adult in somebody's younger life.
No, but there's plenty of films you watch as a youth that you don't watch with your parents. That's my point. There's many films I watched at 15, 16 that my mum and dad didn't know I'd watched. So are they going to have that? Are they going to sit down and watch that film with them? If they do, that's a different matter. If you watch that by yourself, you still don't see anything wrong with it. So what are you trying? To me, you haven't said that this is bad. You've just showed it.
Yeah, but I'm assuming this is a 15. I think 18. I'm assuming this film's a 15.
I think it was. Let me check.
I think I get what Carl. I get what you're saying. However, I think it's almost like you could use this film as like a stimulus, as like a talking point. Do you understand what I'm saying? To see what the kids take away. So even you're absolutely right, because like different. I said, right. So any kind of parent who is because you can watch anything, you can watch anything and use it and turn it round to fit whatever your narrative is going to be.
Yeah.
So I think in that case, you're right. There isn't any immediate takeaway from, say, like that final scene just by watching it. But if you put it into context and you see, so you could watch that with maybe your own child, and you say, okay, what were your thoughts? What do you think about that?
That's the key, though. That's the key. This film would only be good if it's a parent sitting this child down and then having a conversation about it. As a youth that's watching it by yourself, you've actually learned nothing, because there's no consequence.
Well, I didn't. Well, I didn't.
That's what I'm saying. So this is quite dangerous to me. This is quite dangerous.
But then on the flip side, then it sounds like if you say you tell people what you think could be right or wrong and let them view it and see if they think it's right or wrong. You know, when the understanding is like, somebody hurt my friend, so I need to hurt them back to protect my friend. They're not doing anything wrong. They're just trying to protect their friend. But that's not a wrong action. It's the same principle. You just need to understand how it's applied to the conversation. So as in all the sexualness of this film, whether it's right or wrong, or whether they've done the correct behavior, it's still the same based on what I understand. And then I know that I have to look after someone I'm with, I'm doing the right thing. Well, if she's, and then you have the conversation, she's not saying no, that means yes. As in, that's what when we was younger taught until we was told differently. Boom, you have that conversation. But you don't have that conversation without you saying, do you understand the difference in the first place? Do you know what the difference is? So education is key, but there's no way you should say this film shouldn't be viewed by every child from when they hit 12. Because from when they hit 12, they've hit by so much crap into the school.
Oh, listen,
so much crap.
Exactly. Carl, all I'm saying to you is you are going to be surprised. As a parent, you be surprised. You can do absolutely, and we'll move on to favorite scenes. I don't know if you can have a favorite scene in the context of this.
You know the rules.
But after or whatever, most memorable scene. But you be surprised. You can do absolutely everything in your household. Everything in your household to make sure everything's on point. You know, your children have all the best teachings, the best morals. Listen, the moment you blink and they see that you've blinked and you're not seeing what they're doing, trust me. And that's all I'm going to say on that.
No, I'm not this. As I said, this I'm not disagreeing with you on the realism of this film, because I know what I was doing at them ages.
There you go.
Careful, mate. Careful.
But
there you go, son.
That's not my issue with the film. My issue is with everything else. The realism is spot on, but I don't need this to be made into a film.
Because maybe it's too real.
Yeah, but
maybe the thing is,
no, because there was no takeaways, there was no consequences. You just showed me actions.
Okay,
but that's a problem.
But again, it creates a talking point.
It has created a talking point.
Us as men, I'm saying if I watch that by myself at 15,
Okay.
Anyway,
Okay, but okay.
right. We're gonna. I'm gonna speed us along a little bit because we are at the.
We could chew the fat about
we
this
could
all day,
and
Man,
again
that's why I picked this
and
film
in
because
that,
I
right,
knew it was going to
absolutely because if and believe you me, we've looked at films that haven't warranted almost an hour worth of discussion.
Oh, the dead don't die.
Listen, don't even. Anyway, best or memorable scenes. I'll throw it out to you, Els, first.
I think it's a culmination of the final sequence. So we've got Jenny finally finding Telly after she's been looking for him from the start of the film, to then obviously see him having intercourse with the other girl, and it's that crushing moment of, in a way, she could have saved her life and she's failed, and then she just gives up.
Yeah,
and then it rolls into it's Casper in it, who's kind of been the weasel of the whole film and the sort of fronter,
absolutely,
to then end the film on him committing the most heinous, most weasel, disgusting act, one of the most disgusting acts that a human being can do. And then obviously the final shot of him waking up, and it's like, we know what's now potentially happening and he doesn't know. And then that's it. That for me, that whole final sequence, that was the most memorable.
I'm gonna piggyback and say, not the whole final sequence. It was the enjoyment that I knew that I now know he had AIDS because of his dickhead, rapey behavior. So I enjoyed that person. That's I like the film was, as a film, I hated and loved the film, but for a scene or a moment that said, "Oh, you see, consequences."
Yeah.
You don't need to be told them. You just have to see him. And if you can't see him, you're not open-minded and you can't see vision. It's okay. You shall learn another way. Oh, shit. You have to take tablets for the rest of your life. Oh, what happened there? Was that your own fault? Did somebody force you? Or did you get excited? Oh, you was a motherfucker. Oh, now you fucked up. There you go.
That's it. Just desserts.
So,
I'll go with that one. this film, I swear to you, was literally bottom of the barrel. If I show you my notes, the amount of times I've put disgusting, uncomfortable, weird.
No, and the thing is, I totally agree with him.
Why did he keep saying nigger as well?
Yeah, well,
I don't understand. That's what I'm saying. Like, to me, there was no black. Anyway,
but again,
I wasn't. I didn't like any scene in this.
But even to mildly address that, like, you're right. Why did he keep on using the word nigger? Why? Because
in those times, it wasn't a problem.
Exactly, and exactly.
For white people to use the word nigger,
dude, that was it. That was this So let me. I'll do that in my sum up. So my I wouldn't even say I had a favorite scene because, like, Carl,
memorable is better.
It's
the better way of saying it.
It was. Okay, so I do have a favorite scene. I do have two favorite scenes actually. My favorite scene is when they are on the subway, and you got that guy playing the accordion.
Of course, I should have known.
Hold on.
Charles, tell him a story.
I should have known.
Tell him a story. No, but do you know what? I meant to bring this up. You just reminded me. Tell him a story.
Right.
Go on, bro. Go on.
Hang on. So you got the guy playing the accordion, and you got the other guy. The little kid who's doing the dance. Now the music's playing and the kid's dancing, but they don't match up. The kid's just doing this like some kind of. Go back and if you can, Carl, just to rewatch that scene. Yeah, hold on a sec. The music and the dancing do not match up, and then you've got these two idiots, Telly and Casper, standing there in awe, going, "Yo, he's really good." And I'm like, what the hell? Who's good? What's good? What's good about it? He's just doing this mad Irish jig hopping thing from one foot to the other. Then the next, my best scene is when they're actually on the subway.
I knew you were gonna say this.
And the door opens, and you get the little guy coming on who has no legs. Now it's quite obvious he has no legs because he's on a skateboard. Where his leg should be, there's like an aluminium dish where his leg should be, and he's. I mean, that scene in itself, for me, it conjures up so many questions. Like, who helped him up from the track onto into the carriage? Like, because he literally just opens the door. Like, where did he come from? I don't understand. But anyway, that's another podcast. But it's when he just starts shaking the thing and then stating the obvious. I have no legs. Yeah, buddy, we can see you have no legs. You've got a skateboard there. We can see that. So that for me is classic. Now, the reason why it's even more classic for me is because I have on numerous occasions been on the New York subway system, and there are characters like the dancer, like the accordion player, and like Mr. I Have No Legs in real life. Why just last summer when we were in New York, Elliot? We're sitting on the subway, minding our own business. The door opens, this character comes in, and he just starts rapping. He just starts rapping, but he's begging in a rap version. Like, it was hilarious. So for me, that was my two favourite scenes.
Right, so wrap up. I'll take this one first, and this is going to really piss Carl off, but I thought this film was brilliant. As I say from the start of my review, the sort of impact that this had, watching it then, rewatching it now, obviously, like as I said to you the other day, Giles, when you watch things at different times in your life, you're going to get a different feeling. And as we've all kind of alluded to the fact, as we're now older, we've lived a lot further along than we did when we first saw the film, or if we didn't see the film, we're older now anyway. But thinking about how life is now, looking at the sort of subjects that were tapped into in the film, I thought it was perfect. I think there should be more films like this that make things very blunt, very strong, very graphic, stating the obvious, scare factor. I thought it was a very a scary film, but for all the reasons of, well, this could be real, and this is real. This is probably a lot of people's life at the time now going through these kind of situations. So I thought it was great. Outside of the messages of the film, the way it was filmed, as I say, I love the sort of home video feel, the third person looking through that sort of window at someone else's day in their life. The script as well was very just very normal. Didn't feel like someone had actually written a script. I actually felt like these people were just having day-to-day conversations. And the kind of feeling you got at different moments in the film as well, like Carl said, when they was in the swimming pool, when they was in, I don't know if it was Central Park, but when that park scene as well, just very normal. There's a very normal feel to this. And then obviously juxtaposed with the strong, visceral, impactful scenes. For me, it was the perfect blend. I was talking about this film 25 years later on, watching it as well now, feeling that it's just more relevant than it's ever been. I'd say this is near a classic, and I'd give this 4 stars.
4 stars from Elliot. Kyle.
Yeah, it's 1 star. As I said, I thought it was disgusting. No reason for this film to be made. I don't really have much else to say.
Wow. Have we ever heard
the
shortest review from Kyle, boy? Your rating.
Say no more.
Amari.
Well, I was gonna piss off Kyle, and I say piss off Kyle. Well,
you can't piss me off because I was shocked that you enjoyed it anyway, so I was already thinking.
Well, to be fair, I don't think this film was good as Midsummer, but it's in the same mood.
I watched Midsummer 10 times over this.
So you know how good it is. It's just you hate it because you don't understand it. It's okay. I will teach you. Don't worry. I'll do a cinema. I will get the PowerPoints and I will get the flashcards and I'll tell you to write your thoughts. Trust me, I got you. Anyway, you see, kids, My kid will watch kids when they hit 11 years old because this world is fucked. And, and on that point alone, the film gets 4 stars because it teaches them every fucking year they have to watch this film. You know why? Because they need to understand, whether I know or not as their parent, they need to know as a child everything's out to get them, and they don't even know they're trying to get them because the people trying to get them don't even know they're trying to get them. This shit is chestnut checkers, motherfucker. Please note. Now, basing all of that and getting all that attitude out of the way,
Right, I'm gonna give this film. I'm gonna give it 3 stars. Why are you
I
laughing?
love that so hard.
I'm gonna
No,
give it
I thought
3
he was
stars.
going to give it 4, so it's not too bad.
No. And again, all I can go on by is my experiences of watching it back then and watching it now. Obviously, I had the same disgust and kind of just like, oh my gosh, like shock at the film still retains such shock value for me 25 years later. But again, that's only me watching it as an adult and having had children. However, like I've said, it doesn't take away from the fact that it is, for me, it is a very important film for children and parents to watch. I think we live in an age where parents, there's a disconnect between certain generations, especially between parents and children. And some parents kind of take it for granted that because they bring their children up a certain way and because they do this and because they do that, then they don't need to, that my child would never do this. My child, no, you need to understand that you need to kind of be on the same level with them. So to be kind of in their heads about what they're doing and get rid of these misconceptions. And if this is a tool that you can use to get those messages across, then use it. But again, I can't get away from the shock value of it because I couldn't believe, I was watching it, just my mouth was like open, like raw. This is probably one of my favorite ever films, but it's a hard watch to watch as a 41-year-old man at the time when I watched it. But again, it still doesn't take away, like I said, I don't think you could make this film now, even in terms of the fact of the demographics or the demographic in New York. You wouldn't get group of kids that hung around like that now. Because correct me if I'm wrong, we pretty much went all over New York last summer. We didn't see groups of skateboard kids hanging around. I mean, we went from one end of Central Park to the other. I mean, the reality is kids' attitudes have changed anyway. So they're not even outside. They're not even outside. They're not even outside. So those sort of attacks where you had like, almost 100 kids, whatever the number, it seemed like 100 kids, but just rows of kids just chilling outside. That shit doesn't even happen anymore because we're now in this digital age where everyone doesn't need to do that. We can hang out online. Shit, we're doing a podcast and right, we're all over London.
We could be in 4 different countries right now.
Absolutely. So I think, and it wasn't that long after that I think the shift towards where we are now began to happen. So in terms of, when this film was made and why it was made, I do think it's important. However, I keep on coming back down to the shock. And not only some things happen on film or don't happen on film, like they're implied and they're shocking, but to actually have to sit through the uncomfortableness of it, yeah, it's that's why it gets 3 stars. Before rewatching it, it would have got a 4, but after rewatching it, it's a 3 stars for me. So that gives Kids a TMRG star rating of 3 stars. So our second film from 1995 is Friday, and this was released April 26, 1995. It's directed by Joe F. Gary, and it stars Ice Cube as Craig, Chris Tucker as Smokey, Nia Long as Debbie, and John Witherspoon, the late great John Witherspoon, as Willie. Two homies, Smokey and Craig, smoke a dope dealer's weed and try to figure out a way to get the $200 they owe to the dealer by 10 p.m. that same night. Kyle, were you entertained?
Yes.
Elliot, were you entertained?
Yes.
Amari, were you entertained?
Yeah, long as the first girl I wanted to marry, and it's still the first girl I want to marry, and I want to marry other girls, but they still want to marry.
Amari, were you entertained? Thank you for your monologue about Nia Long. Just need to know if you're entertained, bro.
Charles, were you entertained by Friday?
No, I wasn't.
That's
I
right.
knew that was coming. No, I knew that was coming.
No, I wasn't.
I didn't think that was coming.
No,
I knew you weren't happy with the selection, but I didn't think
it was too easy for me to say yes, and no, I wasn't entertained.
Okay, right. So as the rules go, I'm normally one in that position where everyone else says yes, and I'm saying no. So
See? Now you're messing the base. You know when I was thinking we could do a quick what? Nah, we're gonna do a look.
No, listen.
You do the thing.
Listen, it's fine. Listen, what I've got to say it isn't going to take long. Okay,
Right,
it isn't going to take long. Now,
say it.
so I'm gonna kick it off as to why I wasn't entertained. Now, again, just like our previous film, Kids, I watched this film in the actual year it came out. And
did you watch this in the cinema?
I actually did watch this in the cinema. I did watch this. I remember it would have been, what was it, Streatham Odeon?
Yeah, the Odeon.
Streatham Odeon back in the day. And I actually watched this with my oldest daughter's mum. So this is when we were, we just started seeing each other, and we'd gone on a date to watch this. Yeah, it's not needed. It's not needed. Trust me. 25 years later, it's not needed. But
Hold on, got one of these.
it's not. Anyway, so at the time, and again, I have to be honest because we are revisiting something, so I can't let nostalgia kind of cloud my judgment.
That's a very important rule. Very important.
So when and the joke is, I only watched this film was the hardest film for me to rewatch out of all of them. What I've discovered about myself in terms of rewatching films, I don't like rewatching films. Don't know what it is. I don't like rewatching. Well, I don't like rewatching films that I haven't chosen to rewatch. I think that's more the issue.
Yeah, I think that makes more sense of what you're saying.
I think that's more the issue. Now, comedies are always a tricky genre to rewatch because a joke is something that is funny. Definitely it should be funny the first time. The better jokes are always funny, but going back and watching this, I only laughed twice.
Wow.
Twice.
Wait, Charles, when was the last time you watched this film?
Years ago.
I didn't watch this year for at least
years
5
ago. So again, this and I tell you what's probably kind of aided my non-entertainment, as it were. Obviously, they then made sequels, which I looked forward to at the time. I think the next Friday came out. Next Friday came out 7 years after this one, in 2002, and again I watched that in the cinema. Thoroughly disappointed, and I think the last one,
Friday After Next, was a force.
That was
the biggest force. But Next Friday, another classic.
Yeah.
Don't
remember it.
Oh, Kyle.
Yeah.
That's a classic.
Now, don't get me wrong. If I haven't rewatched it, I haven't rewatched Next Friday. I know there's a couple of funny scenes,
I actually did, but I'll get into that in a sec.
Overall, as a film, yeah. So back to this one anyway. I only laughed twice. So again, and I've said this, and I don't even think I laughed at the intended jokes. It was the unintended jokes that I laughed at. And so it's when Smokey first comes into his scene, and he busts through the window and he tears down the curtain, and then he says, "Look what you've done to my curtain." I thought that was hilarious, because who the hell does that? And everyone would react the same way. And then the other time I laughed was when the dad said, "Don't slam the door." And he went, yeah, and he just slammed the door on purpose.
That was funny.
I was laughing from the opening scene from, I think, is it someone, I can't remember who it is, but someone sleeping in their garage. That started busting me up.
Yeah.
Because I think, why the fuck are you sleeping in the garage?
Maybe it's just me.
I was laughing all the way through.
Maybe it's just me, but I didn't. And I didn't. And again, obviously, if it's an action film, I want to be on the or a thriller, I want to be on the edge of my seat. If it's failed for me to evoke the emotions that you're trying to get me to evoke, then I'm not entertained. So for me, if I'm not laughing at a comedy, then I'm not entertained.
Yeah, I get that. I get that. I think what I will say is, as I said earlier on, it was very interesting that I love sometimes we make selections and then these kind of sub conversations come out of our selections that weren't intended. So obviously, as I said, 2 films that we're reviewing in our revisit back to 95 are both films about young, obviously different ages, but you've got, let's say, children and teenagers, a day in the life with nothing to do and seeing what stories occur and where their choices take them on that day. So we've gone from go on, bro.
So ironically, I feel like both sets of group are non-educated to university/college level. Yeah. And they're all under 21.
Yeah.
But they have different environments where they live.
Yeah.
But knowing they have the same thing to do is interesting. So when we do the digress, diverse understanding, imagine, so one gets portrayed this way, one gets portrayed that way, but one is a problem, one isn't. And that's the way when I was doing the comparison of the film, that's the way I saw it. So I get what you're saying in terms of there's nothing for them to do overrule or underrule for just to keep themselves active and non-troublesome in other people's eyes.
And again, it's like, I could say one of the biggest things that came from this film for me, again, which I think comes from youth, is respect. Because I know, Carl, you rang me, we had a conversation, we were laughing because you said, yeah, Craig gets fired on his day off. And I remember I got fired from my first job and it was the same sort of nonchalant, not having respect for the actual job, you've got a means to make money and just thinking, well, I've lost my job now, so that's that, innit? Fuck them and I'll go and do my own thing. And it was like, I get that kind of the attitudes from Craig and his sort of, he's living a privileged life. Like I remember as a kid growing up, it was always from my mum, you treat this house like a hotel. You come and go as you please. All this stuff that at the time I didn't understand. Growing up now and watching a film about a guy who's kind of got that similar sort of nonchalant, why is there no food in the fridge? Why isn't there no milk for my cereal? It was just interesting and it made me appreciate some of the teachings and the sort of disciplines that my parents put in place. But comedy side of things, it was interesting to watch this because I think after all these years, this is one of them classic films. We've all heard the jokes, we all know the scenes, but watching them again, I could honestly say I found the majority of them funny. And what was also interesting was that I'm not the biggest Chris Tucker fan, but watching him in this, it was very apparent to me that for him to really shine in film, not in stand-up, he has to be alongside certain people. Obviously, we can always talk about Rush Hour. That pairing was classic as well. But I think the pairing of him with Ice Cube in this, I thought was brilliant. And I thought he really got a chance to be his comedic, charismatic self, but in a way where it wasn't annoying. And then when we talk about next Friday, I found Mike Epps was annoying from start to finish.
Okay.
So it was interesting to watch Chris Tucker in his in his young form and think, oh yeah, you had it.
I have an issue with what you're saying because I found his stand up on Def Comedy Jam before this.
One of the best.
Listen, you'll be in the top 6, 7.
Yeah,
trust me, that's very hard.
But that's why I make the separation. That's why I make the separation.
But I know he probably, in my mind, I don't know how it was written, but I would assume that he got a script in terms of it is what it is. I got what you want to kind of happen, make it happen, sprinkle
improvise, of course.
Yeah. So if he did that, and I assume he would have, based on the fact that he was so talented, he was actually, I'm not saying he was more well known than Ice Cube at the time, but trust me, he was pulling in numbers by himself at that time. Yeah. And then he chose not to do Next Friday. You know when you have a choice not to do a film because you care about what you want to do for yourself?
That was the smart decision.
No, it actually wasn't, because I enjoyed Day being Next Friday. But in terms of the character, the way Smokey was, it made so much sense for him to be, I've grown past that role, but at that time, that role was fun for me. You know the ones where you say, meet someone 5 years later, and if me and you are cool, but we're not the same person, or I'm not the same person.
Yeah.
That was for him. But then the conversation, his character, he was funny without being funny. Like he was just, you know, you could believe someone was being themselves, and people were laughing.
Just a clown.
And enjoying that someone's personality. And it's not a ribbon or anything like that. They're just being like, rah, this person just wants to have fun, and it's not even like a problematic fun.
But that's one of the ingredients of a good film, where you see someone in a role that you can't really tell if that's their normal persona or if that's them acting outside of what they normally would be. Do you see what I'm saying? That's one of the main ingredients of this film. Like even with Ice Cube, I don't know how he is, you know, in his personal life and how he is his persona and the rest of it. But in this, I believed that he was at the time just a guy who's lost his job, lives with his mum and dad, his sister. He's got everything he needs. He ain't really got much drive. He played the part very well.
To be fair, if you compare him to this, how he was in Boys in the Hood. Yeah,
not Boys to Men.
Yeah, that's what I said.
He stopped himself.
I stopped myself on purpose because I already knew what I was going to say.
Almost two homeworks, Carl.
I saved myself.
How you get homework during the school holidays?
But you understand, like, so I always knew he had range. His range is he didn't choose films that was beneficial. He just went to last off the Nia Long from when we was kids, and I understand that and I respect that. But
forget Nia Long, it was all about the neighbor.
The neighbor.
Do you know what? It's funny you should say that. Rewatching that, she weren't all that.
Who, the neighbor or Nia Long?
The neighbor weren't all that.
Hold on.
The neighbor weren't all that.
Slow down. Hold on. Slow down.
Oh, wait. The neighbor
she wasn't a bag of chips, but she was all that. She was all that.
I don't know, man.
She was all that.
She was.
I don't know, man.
Or her age. Yeah.
What do you reckon her age is?
40 plus.
Now?
I know now.
She was over 40.
Yeah.
But in the film?
Yeah, in the film.
Or approaching.
She was
39, 40, 41.
She was in the MILF territory.
Yeah, she was in the MILF territory. But to be fair, between her, the midget, and Bernie acting like he didn't know anything that was going on, that shit was legendary.
Carl, what did you think? What did you think of Friday?
Nah, it was good, man. It was actually funnier than what I had remembered. Actually, for me, I always enjoyed Friday, but in my head it was like, yeah, it's funny, but it's not that funny. But watching this, I was laughing from start to finish. Even normally John Witherspoon, I find him quite annoying. He plays the same sort of person, but even he was busting me up in this film. I was like, nah, this film is actually a classic for a reason. It actually is. And so many Chris Tucker quotables is what I wrote.
There were.
Even now to this day, are still quotable. It's that.
Hey, by
Yeah.
Felicia, it still gets run around on roadside. I'm not gonna say anything more than that. Correct. It's 25 years old, and man can say bye Felicia, and it will shut down a conversation. Alright, say no more. 25 years old, you know. You're
Yeah.
telling me my kids could have kids at the same, and they will still say that, and they wouldn't. They would, and no, convo done. Shut up.
I thought it was very good how, because again, yes, there's a plot, yes, there's a start and finish, but predominantly the film is about two guys with nothing to do. And it just made me laugh how many kind of mini situations happened from the start of the film to the end, a day in the life, and how they kind of weaved their way from and through each one. It's funny watching a film about nothing, really and truly.
Yeah.
Like, there's not a
And
solid.
that's what I was going to say. It literally was a bunch of things that in some way were loosely connected with each other happening in it. Friday, rewatching it, I was actually thinking, and again, don't get me wrong, the first time I watched it, I did enjoy it. It's just, I'm saying for me, it hasn't had that replay value watching it all these years later. Watching it, I actually thought this could actually be a play. This could easily be a theatre production. Just in terms of, like, they stay within the same... the setting, you know, they go, you know, inside the house, outside the house. You know, I think they visit
A black-owned shop.
a black-owned shop that has a Korean owner.
Was too much. That's what I was saying. There was too many little bits.
Creating the front stuff to make it acceptable for black people.
Hey,
Yeah.
But then again,
you know what it got me as
That
well?
was
Do
brilliant.
you know what? Do you know what it got me as well? After that scene, when they get back from the shop, and Chris Tucker's trying to stop his car,
when it doesn't stop,
man's foot is all getting bent backwards.
it's like that, isn't it?
From when you're trying to stop your car with your foot, like, I know I can understand if you're on a bike. Okay, cool.
Hey, Fred Flintstone is in the building.
He kind of gave a whole new meaning to a foot brake, innit?
Nah, there was nonsense. There was bare nonsense in this. Favorite scenes? What we saying? Favorite scenes?
Favorite scenes? We'll go with Amari first.
Nah, the whole film was a favourite scene. You're mistaken. The reason why is because I feel like this is the first black comedy that I watched
Yeah.
that I understood. In terms of, I've watched black comedies from 2000 onwards when I could kind of grasp what's going on. But it's the first one I watched was a throwback. And to be fair, all I knew Chris Tucker from was Rush Hour. And I was like, what? He said something before. Shit, this is funny. What the fuck's going on? Give me some more. Hey, listen. Arguably, by Felicia and You Got Knocked the Fuck Out being spun twice. And then the second time was even worse because man stole back his chain in his bike. And he was riding around by it slow because the tires got fucked up the second time because my man was heavy for the bike.
But you see when I know this bit got you as well, G. You know when it's the first scene where they're talking about Debo, and that guy, he actually that's another point I'm making in a sec. But that guy was walking up and he says something to Debo, and then Debo starts walking towards him, and he just keeps going. Looking behind him. But did you clock the two faces that I'd only ever clocked this watching it this time round? So we've got I forgot his name, but
Megan Good.
Yes, Megan Good.
She's
and
the ice cream girl.
Yeah, I only clocked that this time.
Real young. Yeah, I never got it the first time.
Yeah.
Never ever clocked. And obviously my man, his name eludes me, who plays
Michael Clark
John
Duncan.
Yes.
Yeah.
Didn't clock him as well.
Now, hasn't he?
Yeah. Legend. But
funny story about Michael Clark Duncan, because when he died, and there was some news channel that announced it, they put up a picture of someone else. I think they put up a picture of Terry Crews. I think it was.
I think I've seen that.
It's crazy.
It's madness. It's mad. The funniest case of misidentity was Samuel Jackson. I know you've all seen the YouTube clip.
No.
You know the one I'm talking about, and I think the guy calls him Denzel.
I thought you.
The guy calls him
Washington.
Denzel. Yeah, and he actually outs him, and he's like, "No, we do not all look the same." Like,
Samuel, he's on it. He's on it.
There's no half measure with that motherfucker. You're gonna
favorite team.
It's too many. I'll probably just go with You Got Nothing to Fuck Out as well, man. There's actually too many good things in this film.
To be fair, one of my happiest scenes was like, motherfucker, I smoked your shit for how many years? Smell mine too. Get the fucking room and close the door. Come on.
22 years.
22 years. Yeah, I wrote that one down.
It was many years.
22 years means that Craig wasn't a kid anymore. Remember
yes. So he's a young man.
He's a young man.
Yeah,
he's a young man.
See, obviously the knock the fuck out for me is the obvious scene.
Because people still use it every day.
Yes,
in the conversation, I said that.
But then that became more. That it's funny about that by Felicia, because obviously if you've all seen Straight Outta Compton, which
I wrote this down.
They tried to just write that in.
They wrote it in, but obviously
it didn't happen.
It didn't happen because the time doesn't add up.
But that to me is the obvious scene. And funny enough, I didn't actually find that scene that funny. Like, I laughed at the guy who keeps turning around, and then obviously when Debo cracks him. But the scene that got me was when Smokey breaks into Nia Long's house, and he goes through the window, and every time Debo's shuffling, and then he like stands straight, and then when he finds,
and everyone was out. And it was like, what are you doing?
That was disgusting. That was disgusting. Oh, yuck.
That was what cracked me. That one, I think that one was the one that I had to get the rewind for.
Again, it's quite hard to have a favorite scene for me. I'll go with most.
What was one of the ones that made you laugh, Charles? Oh, you said in it.
Yeah. So when Smokey just bust through the window, and you had a little rip. You had a little rip of the curtain. Like you can rip a man's neck curtains, bro. That's peak. Because it is, and you're gonna get cussed by your parents. Like,
it's a task. That's a task.
It's a madness. I think it was, when Craig he reluctantly starts smoking. And then everything, and then he starts tripping.
And he's at the same time. This is the what's going on.
But for no reason. So then obviously Nia Long comes along, and she's sitting next to him, and she's like, "Are you high?" And he's like, "No, I'm not high." And he kind of like starts dusting off his clothes, like that's gonna make him look not high.
Listen,
and he does it about He does it about 4 times. I'm like, bruv. I was watching it thinking, bruv, that isn't gonna make you look not high. You haven't done anything.
At that exact moment, it's
you haven't done anything.
This film was too relatable, man.
And then he's like, "Did you hear that? Did you hear that?
Yeah. Star ratings, Charles. Do you want to kick this off?
I'm gonna give it 2 stars. 2 stars.
Ooh.
I'm gonna give it. I'm sorry. Like I said, again. It
2.
isn't. Yeah. I can't give it any higher than 2. I can see why it's called a classic, but I don't know. The maybe the sparkle kind of has worn off for me. Maybe having watched it all those years, and I did thoroughly enjoy it. It's one of these films that maybe I shouldn't rewatch them, because then I'm watching it through adult eyes and I start to see different things. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah.
Kind of spoils it in a way.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong. That's not to say there aren't comedies that I can rewatch. There are loads of comedies I can rewatch. Bad Santa, for example, I could rewatch that.
I'd watch Long Shot.
Long Shot is, but again, would you? We're not talking about Long Shot 25 years later.
Yeah.
It's not even been 25 months. Now be quiet and let me finish. Let me finish my wrap up.
I'm gonna have to make an edit of that. Shut up and let me finish my wrap up. You there? Let me finish my wrap up.
So yeah, it's not just, like I said, not to say that I can't rewatch comedies. It's just for some reason, rewatching this, I didn't find it funny or like belly up laughing, as Amari once said.
Toy Story 4, baby.
Belly up laughing. How we let him get away with that one? But yeah, I didn't find it belly up. It was. Don't get me wrong. I could see the humor. Just for me, maybe the humor was a little bit played out. By the time I rewatched it, do you think it's a kind of an iconic film? Because again, going back to what I said about kids, it kind of encapsulates a period of time in that era. Could you remake Friday again? Possibly. But right, and so that would be the question: should you? Because I know they've kind of mooted a kind of like a final installment in the Friday franchise, but they've been talking about it for years, and there's probably a reason why it only gets talked about. And we haven't. But again, we know once Hollywood is back in its full greed mode, I'm pretty sure, just like we're about to see Coming to America 2, because that's a thing as well.
We're not discussing.
It will get made.
We're not discussing.
But yeah, we're not discussing that, but we will. I'm sure.
Oh yes, we
need
will.
to. Yeah, we will. We need to. But yeah, I know. And I wanted to be entertained by it. I wanted to be entertained more. So just on the value of its merits previously, and the fact that it was one of these first all black comedies for the time, I'll give it 2 stars. Amari.
Yeah, 5 stars. Done. Told you, debatable. Probably best black film comedy I've ever seen. From now till then.
That's a big statement. That's a big statement.
Big statement. In my wrap up, I'm gonna let each one of you tell me a film with a predominantly black cast that's been more funny.
Coming to America.
Okay, 1.
Yeah, that would have been mine as well. That would have been mine.
I was laughing through both films, so we're struggling. So we'll have a debate.
But you said the best ever.
Yeah.
If something's the best ever,
that was more relevant when I was growing up to understanding my own society and culture than what's Coming to America. Even if I watched it now, what is more relevant? So carry on. Let me find another film. Carl, I'm waiting.
No, I wouldn't disagree. I would want to go back and watch Coming to America again. But,
yeah, I'm not saying it's not a great film. I will give that film a 5 stars without watching it again, knowing how funny I find that film. But for me, you see this film?
Yeah. No, I can't think of any other off the top of my head then.
It's a struggle because you see people like what do you do with yourself? Alright, cool. Shit, I ain't got nothing to do, but it's Friday, motherfucker.
Yeah.
I ain't got sacked on my day off. Oh, fuck. Alright, cool. You know what? I'm gonna chase the girl I want. I'm gonna get high. Oh, shit. My boy got me I've known him from yay high. He got me in trouble in the ends. What we gonna do next?
Amari, I've got another one for you.
Go on.
Life.
Yep. That was a long film. And that wasn't a straight comedy.
He said it was a long film.
Yeah, that was 3 hours if I remember.
Carl, there's a giveaway in that. It's called Life, bro. There's a little bit of a giveaway there. A little bit of a clue.
The makeup could have been funny, but trust me, that film was a lifetime lesson. But I'm talking about the current age of you think that film you can still watch Friday as anybody between the ages of 13 to say 24, and they won't apply or they won't know someone who lives that life that's that same age.
To be fair, I mean, I've just had a quick browse. There's a couple lists on IMDb, and to be honest,
There's nothing that stands out.
For me, is only maybe 3 at the top, and that would be obviously Friday, Coming to America, and I'd put Life in there as well. But outside of that, I mean, you've got all the sort of classic ones. But
House Party,
I would agree.
Like you can debate it. You can debate.
It's a debate.
But personally, you can't debate how funny this film is.
Nah.
I'll say Next Friday is a small drop off, but
yeah,
the reason why it's a small drop off because it was relevant for what it had to do for that time.
Yeah,
I think he wants to make too much money, which is why he got greedy doing Friday After Next, and he wants Friday 4 or whatever he wants to name that shit. But that's on him. Let me enjoy what I'm enjoying, right? So I'm going to enjoy Chris Tucker in his prime for this, Rush Hour 1 and Rush Hour 2. Rush Hour 3 was a waste of time, just so you know. And then we carry on our day.
It was still had some funny moments, Rush Hour.
No, you can have funny moments, but in comparison to the other two,
it wasn't levels.
That's not in the same category.
Yeah.
I will slap anybody, I will slap their parents, and I will slap my own parents just so they know how serious I am. That film is a waste of time in comparison to the other two. That's how I feel.
The worst thing is I don't even remember Rush Hour 3. That's how bad it is. Making it even more relevant because I remember my dad had the box set of 1 and 2. He didn't even bother buying 3. That's how you know certain things like some of your memories from a kid that are just enforced by your parents' decisions. So man's like Rush Hour 3. I didn't even know it was Rush Hour 3.
Ironically, this was one of the first few films that you could say was a black cult comedy classic. I know you could say Coming to America was, but I mean Coming to America was the early 90s when you say black people in America didn't have that much influence. They could just make a film.
It's actually late 80s. It's actually late 80s.
Oh, was it?
Mm-hmm.
Right, you see what I mean?
1988.
That was even before I was born. Hey, shout out Eddie for doing all these jobs. It's a shame you got lost. I love what you did. But in terms of, there's nothing comparing to Friday for that whole decade, basically, is what you're saying to me. The closest thing you got to is Life, and Life is like a 3-hour show.
Yeah. So, it's an acquired taste.
But it's too long for what you want it for. As a comedy, what you really want is an hour 30, hour 40. You want something short, smart, bang.
Agreed.
You know the one that you want that quickie behind the corner. That's what you want. You want the quickie. You don't want to know. I want to make love.
See for me, House Party is more relatable.
I can understand that.
House Party is more relatable because I didn't smoke, so you know the whole getting high references, which is the whole stoner, is because it's a black stoner movie, really. When you think about it, you know, don't get high in your own supply. So is the takeaway. But yeah, House Party was more relatable. Sneaking out of the house, getting up to stuff that you shouldn't have been doing, trying to stay out of trouble but have fun at the same time. For me, House Parties are more relatable. But that's just my.
It's more of a what was more funny in terms of comedy value as a film. Relatable, arguably, House Party could be if you didn't smoke or you.
Well, I'll tell you what. I'm going to rewatch House Party, and if I laugh 3 times, then I find the funniest film. just need 3 laughs to win, did I really? Anyway,
but that's me. It's a 5-star film.
5 from Amari.
5 from me as well. Again, going into it, I remember it being a 4-star, but then as I said, when I watched it back, and I was laughing from start to finish. It's got that classic status. It's rewatchable in my opinion. It's got, again, quotables that are still going on today. So it has to be 5.
Elliot?
Yeah, I think I'll bring this one in. It was an interesting watch for me because, again, I haven't watched this film in so long, but watching it at such a young age and then growing up, having the kind of scenes in your head that you always go to, the quotables as it were, I was actually thinking, I'm probably going to do what you don't like doing, Giles, and actually damage a piece of my youth and think, I'm going to watch this now and it's going to be a joke thing. But I was pleasantly surprised. As Carl said, it was probably the same for me. Like from the minute the film started, I was laughing. I was looking at things from a different perspective. Obviously, being the age I'm at now and living the years I've lived. As I say, I was looking at kind of the parents' relationship. I was thinking how nice it is. Like, as I say, I'm one of few of my mates now that I can say, yeah, my parents are still together. Do you see what I'm saying? So I saw little nuances from them. Having the younger sibling as well. Obviously, I've got a brother, so it's a bit different in that respect. But just the banter between him and his sister, the as I said, the lack of respect for the house, for the upkeep, for the food and stuff, the little back and forth with his dad. No, it was a very good watch. And then for me, the thing that kept it together was the comedy, and I laughed more than I was expecting to. I did find myself asking. I thought I didn't want to fall into the category of, yeah, it's a classic. Oh, it's comedy. It's Chris Tucker. It's Ice Cube. It's because so much, as Amari was just alluding to, the fact that so much has been placed on this film. It is one of those Mount Rushmore films, as it was. So I didn't want to kind of fall into that kind of trap of I'm just going to just enjoy everything. So I did try to look for bits, maybe question it. But in all honesty, I couldn't really find much in the film that I could do that with. And then what I really did like as well, obviously the ending, I mean, the film's ridiculous as it is, but the ending was just kind of just silly, but you can't really call it silly when the film's not serious anyway. So I did like the way that they managed to get that important message on domestic violence at the end, in the midst of flipping drug shootout. It was a silly kind of lesson to teach at that point of the film.
Yeah,
but I did
you're
feel
very
it
right
went
on
well.
that. Because I forgot they had even that serious moment when his dad's talking to him, telling him about using his hands. I didn't even remember that, and I was like, actually, that's good. I like that. I like
What I'm saying.
that slight bit of seriousness.
But let's not promote black on black violence in any form. Even if you are using your hands as opposed to a gun.
It wasn't that violence. It was self-defense.
Self-defense from a bully.
Yes.
Awkward situation that you just need to look after yourself. You're not
and
out there to harm somebody else.
Again, if you then start to look at life today, going, I don't like to go into those kind of conversations, but you look at knife crime, you look at gun crime, you look at violent crimes, again, keeping it relative in and around London, and you do find yourself sometimes thinking, I know we've probably all said it, things weren't as mad as they were now back then. Yes, they were still crazy. Yes, fuckery was still going on. But it does seem to me that the years are going by and the youth is just getting worse. And it doesn't seem to be any sort of...
Side note to that, though, I don't think much has changed. I just think it's now...
You always say this. And
I just think it's more in your face. So it's more reported on.
Yeah.
Or social media. Or even if it's not reported on, it will land on your lap via WhatsApp video.
Yeah. And
so
Twitter. I agree with.
So that's what kind of makes it more kind of real, or more just outside your door. But if you go back and if you go back and even if you go back the last 50 years, people were still pretty much doing the same sort of things. If you eradicate the fact that now people do things. And again, going back to what we spoke about with kids about being online now, but the dangers are still there. The dangers have not, they haven't invented any new dangers. It's the same. It's the same dangers. Yes, they kind of appear in different guises, but I still think things are still the same. But anyway,
no, I agree with that. I agree with that. But not to digress too much, I do like the lesson that his dad was trying to teach, even though Craig didn't really listen to it, because obviously he still had a strap and shot it in public. But I do like the way that they were trying to teach that kind of, look, don't use weapons. It's not about that kind of thing. So all in all, I'd have to agree with Carl and with Murray and give this 5 stars as well.
Ooh. So that gives Friday a TMRG star rating of 4 stars. So that concludes episode 16, our nostalgic episode revisiting 1995 of Those Movie Review Guys. Please do join us for episode 17, where we'll be entering our first 2 films into the coveted TMRG Hall of Fame. Do remember to subscribe at all major platforms, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, and of course YouTube. And please, please, please get in touch with us across our social media handles, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, at TMRG Podcast. We have been those movie review guys, and we out.